What's up, friends, and welcome into Fantasy Pros, the fantasy football podcast. And boy, do we have a special episode for you today. I'm Chris Welsh, and I have got the gang. This is the gang has an awesome mock draft. I've got the king of bros, the king of the South, Derek Brown, of course, Steve-Bro with me here. And we've got fantasy guru Drew and my boy Justin Steele, Cubs starting pitcher. We got the whole shebang here. And Justin, kind of a big deal. You know, people know you as far as the pitching side goes. We were able to meet earlier this year. But what people might not know is that you are hardcore in the fantasy football streets, best ball, DFS, and in the drafts. Very excited to have you here, my friend.
Yeah, I'd like to think I'm a better fantasy football player than baseball player sometimes. I take a lot of pride in it.
He's not wrong.
Yeah,
I would think a lot of people hope that's not the case, though. I appreciate you saying that, but I would hope a lot of people are like, no, he's kind of an ace. He's striking out 10.
These two guys already know. I spend a lot of time on the best ball streets. I'm putting a lot of hours into it.
100%. I think I heard you do a show the other day, and you had said, I can't go to sleep unless I've done a draft. So if people really want to know where Justin is on this, he's not just a pitcher. This is a hardcore drafter and we're going to talk about some of the shares that you got going on. Drew, this is our first time getting to do a podcast. I'm very excited to be hanging with you, one of the hardcore guys in the streets. What's up, man?
What's up, man? Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate being here. Big fans. I've been following for a long time, so thank you very much.
Drew is not gonna sit here and toot his own horn, but Drew is one of the sharpest DFS players out there in the freaking space. That man has made more money than I probably made in my entire lifetime off of DFS. He won't tout himself, but I will.
Doesn't matter the sport either.
Yep.
Well,
very true.
Making me blush.
That third voice. Yeah. That third voice, Derek Brown. So glad you're here, Derek.
Here we go.
It's so interesting that you're on this episode because I would just like to point out that Brandon Ayuk has signed a 4-year, $120 million deal. I would also like to point out, yes, you know what? Leave. Because I have been the most vocal person on the planet that Brandon Ayuk was not being traded, and me and D-Bro blow to blow. So I'm going to stop. Sit down for me here for a second. I'm going to stop talking because D-Bro, I'm going to give you the next 60 seconds for an opportunity to talk about what a great signing this is and maybe how smart someone that you are a coworker with is.
Yes, well, you're pretty, I'm ugly, you're smart, I'm dumb. How does the rest of that quote and saying go? No, man, but look, really, like, the 49ers were smart to keep Ayuk in house with Pearsall missing all the time in camp. And look, just pay the freaking guy, man. Like, you know he's one of the best wide receivers in the freaking league. Pay him. I'm glad it's just done. I'm glad it's done before week 1. None of these holdouts, no fines, nothing like that. So, yes, Welsh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to have doubted thee and your infinite 49ers homer wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Justin, yes.
D-Bro, I saw you retweeted or subtweeted or something one of the Schefter tweet about IU. He was kind of talking about the wording and stuff. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, please. No, great question. Great question from Justin. Let's elaborate.
I was not a fan of that Schefter tweet. Really just how the tone in it. It was kind of like, and I forget it off the top of my head, but basically this is the contract that he got offered at the beginning. So basically the way it was framed, it was like, everything that Ayuk did in the offseason, the holdout, all that kind of stuff, this was the original contract. So it's kind of like, oh, the 49ers won. I wasn't a huge fan of that. But look, Shefty's his own man. He can tweet what he wants to tweet. But for me, I wasn't a big fan of it. And for me, players of our owners, every single day of the week, twice on Sunday, get your bag, get paid. These billionaire dudes make tons of money. Pay the players that give you your billions. That's it. Rant over.
And I agree with you, by the way. I think that was Schefter doing a service to 49er management.
Yes.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, what was probably missed in that tweet and that entire thing is, yes, he got the entire contract that they were also offering, but he probably got $5 to $10 million more guaranteed in that first year and over guaranteed money. So it was kind of displaced a little bit, but that wasn't the point of this. This was that I'm like super right and you were absolutely wrong. And that was like the main key that we were trying to focus on.
I mean, I came and sat back down for that part.
There's just no harm in recovering it, just to make sure
everybody's crystal
really
clear
for everybody. Yeah, exactly. I'm very excited about this. We have a 12-team PPR mock draft that we're going to be doing today. Obviously, we've got Drew, we've got Justin, we got the crew here. We might even put little stakes on it at the end when we're all said and done here because, why not? Why not? It's the last mock draft of the Fantasy Pros season, so we might have a little fun with it. But we do want to remind you guys, we're going to be doing this mock draft today with our mock draft simulator. That's right, with the Draft Wizard. You can go to mock draft lobby over at fantasypros.com/draft wizard. And just like you're seeing today, our multi-user drafts allow you to practice and do fun mocks against either both real, like we're doing with our Discord members as well, or the CPU. And I got to tell you, the AI that we have incorporated on Fantasy Pros, it is so much smarter year over year. You guys have no idea how touty this stuff is. It's really, really good. So we're using the same easy to use interface as our draft simulator. And you can join public mock draft, or you can easily invite your friends to a private mock draft. Check it out today over at fantasypros.com/draft wizard. Love to have you guys do that. Last thing before we start this mock draft up, we've got a fun special announcement. So it's not just because we're all great friends with these guys here, but I want to tell you, Drew, when I met Justin earlier this year, we hit it off and we were talking sports and all this type of stuff. One of the first people out of his mouth, not Cody Bellinger, Dansby Swanson, not, none of that. Fantasy Guru Drew was one of the first people that Justin brought up to me. You guys, your boys, and I told Justin, I was like, you guys got to be doing something. You got to do something in the future. And Justin's been doing that. And you guys got a pretty cool announcement that's coming up. So Mr. Justin Steele, why don't you let us know what's in the future in the podcast world for both of you guys?
Yeah, I'm excited to announce me and Fantasy Guru Drew, we're going to be starting the No Huddle podcast with Steele and Drew.
Let's go.
It's a just fun, easy, casual conversation podcast we'll be doing once a week to kind of cover the upcoming slates of NFL and just talking anything sports. Like I love doing DFS for UFC, golf. I love, placing bets on golf and stuff. And it's just a, casual conversation that me and Drew will be able to have once a week while we're covering, whatever's happening in sports and whatnot. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Justin's not going to tell you
too
that he is incredibly sharp in the UFC streets.
Oh yeah.
I don't know anything about UFC. I just tailed him on DFS and almost freaking took down a GPP. This was but 2 months ago, right, Steele?
Yeah.
So just anyway, shout out to these boys.
That's pretty sweet. Well, check it out. The no huddle, right? With Drew and Steele. All right, that's perfect. Go and check that out. Podcast apps, right?
And also, thanks for having me. And shout out to the Draft Wizard app. Dude, everybody on the team uses it. I recommend it to everyone. It's so helpful. It kind of just gets your mind in the right space for, drafts coming up, whether, whatever format, you can adjust it however you want. So I can't say enough nice things about the Draft Wizard app. It's unbelievable.
It's also, it's like where our semi-friendship has come together because Justin heard that I worked for, the guy who was with said I worked for Fantasy Pros, and Justin goes, Fantasy Pros? I use the Draft Wizard. I swear to God. And that was like a month into me working here at the company, and I was able to share that and use that as an extra little tip that worked well for me, but he's as real as can be. So I know we haven't gotten to it yet. People are freaking out here. We're going to get to this mock draft, but wanted to give you guys a hat tip to that. Very excited about that. So go and check them out on the Twitter. You guys probably have like a Twitter handle for it, and if you do, we will retweet it and get it out there. So check it out. The No Huddle with Drew and Steele coming up here. That'll be a great one. Like this is going to be. It's time to get into this mock draft on the Mock Draft Simulator. Looking over at this bad boy, I am drafting in the number 1 spot. Let's see. We have got a bunch of our Discord members, fantasypros.com/chat if you want to get on the Discord. That's how we filled it. This sucker filled up in like a minute. We got Houdat at 2, Messer Grimm at 3, Trust Venom at 4, Captain Neo at 5. We got Devier at 6, Derek Brown is at 7, and Justin is a madman. Had to take the spot right after D-Bro for sniping ability. It's going to be brutal. We got Justin at 8, K-Lest at 9, Blake at 10, JC at 11, and Fantasy Guru Drew on the wheel at 12. Gentlemen, are you ready to kickstart these mock draft engines?
Let's go,
I can't wait.
Let's go.
All right, let's go. We're going to kick this draft off, resume it. I got the number 1 pick. We're not going to make it hard. We're not going to make it hard, ladies and gentlemen. We're going with Christian McCaffrey. Easy money. It's always the number 1 pick for me, baby. Moving through, we are... I always forget we're not using the actual I'm not using the actual like robot, so it just goes boom, boom, boom. But I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey here. Debro, what are you looking to do as your pick is going to come up? You got kind of a prime spot at 7 where RBs can drop. There's going to probably be a premium wide receiver. So what are you looking to do with that one spot?
Well, I was double checking this draft
spot
order again just to make sure. Yes, Steele and Drew are behind me, so I can talk the table.
Yeah.
But yes, so I wanted to go with the 107 in this one because it puts me within range for one of Breece or Bijan or Justin Jefferson. And I've been very, very loud since the injury to J.J. McCarthy. I am not fading Justin Jefferson. I think he legit can get 190 to 200 targets. And anybody think that's crazy, look back to last year. When in the full games he played, he was on pace for 193 targets. So that's at least the short shelf of guys that I'm looking here. So hoping to get one of them.
That's one of my favorites too. I'm buying any of those dips that I've had on Justin Jefferson. I've gotten him in a couple spots. I got him in the flex league. I've had a couple industry spots on him. CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, 2-3. Justin, it's a little bit difficult because you got Debro in front of you, but he's talking about Justin Jefferson. Is there any type of pivot or what are you looking or hoping to do with the first round pick?
So I picked this spot. He went middle of the round, and middle of the round for me in the first round is kind of the ideal spot I wanted in all my drafts this year. That 5 to 8 range, you're kind of able to you don't have the pick at the necessarily like Tyreek Hills or Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lambs, but you kind of get a top tier player that falls to you, and you're able to get a turnaround pick sooner than those guys. So that's kind of what I like about it. And I obviously picked it because I get to snipe Debro.
And it's a beautiful thing. One of the things I really like about it too, I was talking with Bogman about this, and I've had a lot of placement on this. I feel like you don't get too far gone from runs. If and obviously you don't want to like chase any runs, but you know, if the tight ends start to go or the quarterbacks start to go, and you want to be involved in that, you're not too far away from any of the crazy runs. So I kind of agree with you on that. I've had somewhere between like 6 and 9, I feel like in most drafts, and that's kind of kept me in it. Tyreek Hill goes number 4. Debro, two spots away. We just had Amon-Ra St. Brown. So you are either Jefferson or are you going to avoid one of these running backs?
Nah, I mean, it's really one of the running backs. I mean, if Bijan and Justin Jefferson are the two guys, that's the decision I'm hoping. See, DVR is smart, man. I knew it.
Oh, I love this, though. I love this.
Well, you're going to get the other guy that I don't get. And, of course, I'm going to go with my RB1.
This is exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted.
I'm going to go Bijan because he's my RB1 right now. So I think it's a clear pick right now. But shout out to DVR, one of the most tapped in subs that we got. Yeah, Steele taking Breece, baby. You love to see it.
And still, you got to be ecstatic about Breece at 8 is actually pretty stupid. So that like gets you into line to like a pretty great construction. And this is full PPR as we mentioned before. So Breece is a monster, right?
That's exactly what I was just saying about having those middle range picks. You kind of just get whatever falls to you, and you're able to build from there. So like, say Bijan and Breece would have been gone, and it would have been Jefferson and Amon-Ra that me and Debro would have been picking from. I'm still psyched about that. I'm able to, say, get running back with one of my next 2 picks and another stud receiver or vice versa. So that's why I like the middle of the round so much.
I love it. Drew, you're up. You got the wheel. You got 2 picks here. What are you looking at doing on the wheel?
Yeah, so I picked the 12-hole purposefully because I've done 140 drafts this offseason, and the 12-hole has been my least favorite. 140 best balls, right? And 12 has been my least favorite. I think for me, it's pretty clear. I want a running back and I want a receiver. I'm going to go with Gibbs and Harrison. I think both of them are just 2 amazing values at the end of the first round. You get that combo of running back receiver, to your point. You don't have to avoid a run of running backs, and you don't get screwed over by not getting your guy. I'm going for the running back and receiver combo and hoping I can do something similar on the 3 and 4 turn.
Let me ask you this. Where do you think the line differs at all from best ball to like a standard 12-team PPR like we're doing a lot? This is the most important draft weekend that everybody's dealing with. And I just did a show on In This League where we were doing kind of best ball versus actual leagues. Where do you think the line might differ, specifically with a guy like Marvin Harrison going in? Because I think Marvin Harrison feels like this dramatically awesome best ball pick. Do you think there's any type of difference at all in like a standard formatted league?
Yeah, look, the biggest thing between best ball and season long is that stacking ability. In best ball, you want to make sure that you have a quarterback and a 2 receiver combo because you want week 17 to be the win all, end all, be all, right? in season long, you want that consistency. You want to win every single week. And I do think that Gibbs and especially Marvin Harrison, they're not going to waste him, right? They are going to utilize him. I'm more excited about the Cardinals this year than I have been in the past. They will use him and use him to his full potential.
If we could use the analogy, not to be too corny with it, but as Justin is a starting pitcher, I think we might have got our first K, and by strikeout, I mean snipe situation. So if we can even maybe get the graphic there, I think, Justin, you might have got your first strikeout on Debro. You want to tell everybody who you took?
Looking.
Yeah, I was actually surprised Puka just kind of fell to me there, and I was going to ask, I'm going to pivot this to Drew. What went into your decision in taking Marvin Harrison over Puka?
Yeah, Puka has been on my do not draft list. Not that I like him where you got him. I am still a believer in Cooper Kupp. I'm still a believer in that connection, and I believe that Cooper Kupp is still the 1A over there.
Okay.
I love that. By the way, the picks leading up to it, we had Drake London, Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Waddle. Justin got Puka. Debro, you went with Olave. So, and then also the last couple picks, we had Pittman, Adams, Etienne, and Achane. I'm one pick away. How painful was that strike?
That hurt. And I switched screens real fast to go from the draft wizard to see Justin's face as he made the pick, and I saw him grinning ear to ear, and I was like, "Oh, he's gonna do it." I knew where you knew exactly where my head was. You knew exactly where I was going. So I mean, look at that point in the second round. If Puka would have been there, it's a smash. I mean, the guys that I'm kind of looking at that point is kind of Drake London, Puka, Chris Olave, if they fall there. And I still like Olave. I mean, like, look, Justin and I are suffering Saints fans, but I still think that Chris Olave is going to get fed, man. All we need is Derek Carr to just be reasonably decent, and I think it's a better offensive system. Yeah. So it won't surprise me. I know consensus kind of has Olave as a wide receiver 1. I'm with that. I think that he gets 160, 170 targets this year. And as long as the usage, it's not just Derek Carr either checking it down or going YOLO ball. If we get some intermediate stuff, I think that's where Olave, we could see his numbers really perk up this year.
So again, we had, after that pick, like I said, Pittman, Adams, Etienne, Achane, Derrick Henry right before me. And that was definitely a little bit of a snipe. I decided to go with the dual wide receiver spot. And I went with Cooper Kupp, who I have definitely, as this period of time over the last couple of weeks has gone on, I have sold myself back into the massive target share. I've seen some great arguments online. I just want to point out one of which was like this battle of, yeah, well, look at all these underperforming underlying stats Puka has taken over versus, yes, all of those were underlining and bad because he was hurt and he never recovered. So which line are you going to fall on? And I'm going to fall back on the side of Cooper Kupp in the injuries taking away that massive production because he has the ability to be easily a top 5 wide receiver, if not the number 1.
Absolutely.
So at this spot on a wheel, taking Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp is a smash for me. And I took Brandon Ayuk because Brandon Ayuk, we know exactly where his home is. Top 12 wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers. Drew, are you signing off on the Cooper Kupp love there?
Oh, absolutely. I think to be able to get him there, you're in a great position. To your point, if you end the season and Cooper Kupp is wide receiver 1, is anyone really all that surprised? I mean, sure, we got a little surprises, but ultimately, right, everyone understands it. So to be able to get that at pick 24, props to you.
Yeah, it's an ideal situation in like a PPR format. Debo went right after Nico Collins, Josh Allen, Pacheco, Laporta right in front of Derek Brown. Debo, you're up. You want to talk us through the knowledge on what you're going to do here?
I mean, really, it's a few different wide receivers. Nico was on my short list. Right now, I'm kind of thinking between Devonta Smith, but I think I'm going to take the upside shot on DK Metcalf. I love the Seattle offense this year. I think Ryan Grubb is going to do all kinds of smart things. We're already seeing them utilize play action and motion in the preseason. And you know as well as I do, boys, like teams are not going to fully show their hand in the preseason. We're already seeing motion and stuff like that in the preseason. What are we going to see in the regular season? So I think DK Metcalf, he's been we know what the floor is. He's been a wide receiver 2 the last few seasons. I think we get back to the ceiling aspect when I'm old enough to remember when he was wide receiver 10 in fantasy points per game a few years ago. I think we get that back for Metcalf this year, and he's a wide receiver 1. It's possible.
Well, Justin took older DK Metcalf, more established DK Metcalf. His name is Mike Evans, and you got the touchdown hawk Mike Evans. I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of thought we're going to go a little different direction. We'll see when we come back with it, Justin, but talk us through Mike Evans.
Yeah, and I was going to choose between Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith. I'm not too overly excited about the running backs that I was looking at in that section. And all the mocks, I would say it's been the same way. Once I've already had one running back in this section, I usually wait, try to load up at receiver. And I love Mike Evans. I mean, he's done it year after year after year. He's Baker's number one target. Baker feeds him. I love that pick there.
We followed that up with Malik Neighbors, which is very disappointing that he went. Kyron Williams, that's a very fascinating one. The fall to the third round, and DJ Moore. I do want to talk about Kyron Williams here in a second, but Drew, you're up on the wheel. So what are we looking at?
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed. Neighbors was not going to make it back to you. I was grabbing him here, and now I'm going back and forth with if I want to go with the Philly stack here of Devonta Smith and Jalen Hurts. I'm going to go Smith. But I'm going to go something that's maybe a little controversial here, not because of where he gets drafted, but because I know Justin and Debro are not big fans of him this year. Travis Kelce, still for me, my tight end one. Look, that connection between Mahomes, that offense is going to be better this year. Mahomes is going to be gunslinging left and right, and Travis Kelce is still the guy. Is he going to play for another 5+ years? Absolutely not, but Travis Kelce is still the guy.
The Swifties agree with you.
I do like that pick. And I think that's a definite sneaky one. Real quick before we continue on with the draft, taking a small little break here. We had the appetizer last week, my friends. Now it is time to feast. College football is back. So much so, we literally have college football going on as we are doing this draft. We're watching some of the action, and you can jump in the action at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's a full slate of games for week 1, including the big matchup in Atlanta between the preseason number 1 and number 16. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. This is going to be DraftKings' biggest college football season to date, so enjoy the ride now all the way through the expanded playoffs. And for all newbies getting into the college spirit, here's something extra special. New DraftKings customers bet $5 and can get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So score big with DraftKings all college football season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code FantasyPros. That's code FantasyPros for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, gentlemen, getting back into this draft, kicking this back off. Ooh, I love having all the control on this draft. I want to get to the Kyron Williams thing, but one of the funny things of Drew, you taking Travis Kelce, is it's no secret around the streets, the Steele streets, that Mr. Justin Steele loves himself some Trey McBride. And we're in Trey McBride.
It's not my pick yet. Don't talk about it yet. It's not.
Well, they can't hear us. They can't hear us.
So and go ahead and just announce you're sniping me again.
That's why I said it, because no one can hear you and you get to go in front of Debro. I thought you might actually go with him in the last round. Is that where we're going here?
Yes.
Damn
yes.
It. I knew it.
If he gets to me here, I'm taking him. And to kind of feed off of what Drew was saying, this is my tight end one this year. This is the guy that, last year everybody was taking Travis Kelce in round 1, round 2.
Right.
This is the guy that we're going to be doing that with next year, I believe. Like, I believe he's going to have that kind of year this year.
I agree.
And he just fell to you. I had a tension there. I'm going to be honest with you that Justin was saying all that, and then I could just feel the snipe coming, and we all were just going to be like, just explode if that happened. But Justin, real quick, will you tell us, because I heard you say this on another show, will you tell people what your share percentage on Trey McBride is looking like this season?
Yeah, in best ball, it's north of 40% now, and then right behind it is Laporta at like 30-something%, and a lot of them are like together. So like in best ball, I'm not scared of like having one of them as my tight end, one of them in my flex. Also, the week 17 correlations, both of them are in smash spots week 17 for when the big money's decided. So I love both of them, especially in best ball this year.
So high end tight end has been important to you. Is that something that you and Drew, did you guys both because you guys have both taken high end tight ends, has that been an important factor for really any type of format? You want to make sure you're maybe in the top 6, or I don't know if you want to dip into the Evan Ingram range, but you want to get one of those top guys?
That's funny. Yeah, I do not want to leave a draft without a top 7 to 8 tight end, depending on where you have Ingram. Ingram, for me, is somebody who has very, very high potential. I actually wouldn't be surprised if he's a top 3 tight end at the end of this year. Maybe you need a little bit of injuries to happen for that to do. But we saw games last year where Evan Ingram was in double-digit targets in a single game. Preseason doesn't really matter. He scored 2 touchdowns a couple weeks ago in preseason. That's impactful. He is a focal point of that offense, and that relationship with Trevor Lawrence is through the roof.
That's especially impactful for him, for someone who's kind of had like the touch during regular seasons, like the touchdowns has kind of been the thing that's always been not as Achilles heel. Like I think it's just more of like a luck thing, but like to see him doing that in preseasons, like that should be encouraging. That should make you want to draft him a little bit more for sure. I agree.
I'll be honest with you. I actually just did it. I have so many drafts going on right now. I took Trey McBride in solidarity for Justin Steele. I felt like I needed to have a share. I haven't had a lot, so I actually just took Trey McBride. I'm up. I'm going to make my picks, and we'll go through it here. But, D-Bro, after you were struck out again, punch, we got the second punch on you. You decided to go and jump in and get Joe Mixon. So talk about Joe Mixon, and then I'll run us through where we're at.
I almost didn't even add Trey McBride to my queue because I knew Steele was going to go with him. That's how much conviction I had. But I was in between a few different guys with this pick, and having the flexibility of starting with Bijan, getting 2 wide receivers. I know in this exercise we're starting 3 wide receivers. So it's like, could I go with an RB2? Could I punt it down the road? I felt pretty good about the wide receiver options that are probably going to be available to me with my next pick. So figured I was just going to sew up RB2 here. I mean, Joe Mixon's a guy I've talked about the entire offseason. I'm higher on him than consensus. I've got him as an RB1 in my ranks. He's going to get all of the volume he can handle in Houston. And we think Houston can be a top 5 scoring offense this year. Yeah. If Joe Mixon is in that offense and he's gobbling up an 80 to 90% snap share, I mean, legit top 5 is in his range of outcomes.
I like the pick. In the PPR format, like Rachaad White and Alvin Kamara kind of spoke to me a little bit. But after that, Rachaad White went. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Jacobs, Terry McLaurin would have been one of the players for this draft for us to talk about. Rashee Rice, and then, gentlemen, I decided to go with a stack. I went with Mark Andrews getting a top tight end. He's my number 3 tight end this year. And I went with Lamar Jackson, who was falling. I don't try to dive into high quarterback, but my thesis has been, if you give me one of the top guys and you give me the best value and they fall, I'm pretty comfortable with it. Was not in love with any running back. Was not in love with any wide receiver. So I figured, why not shore up my tight end and quarterback? And it ended up kind of being a little bit of a stack, which I know all of you guys have been talking a ton about. So that's where I decided to go with it as we move into the 5th round. Followed it up with T. Higgins, Anthony Richardson, Amari Cooper, Alvin Kamara, Zay Flowers, and D-Bro. We're all the way back to you, baby.
I'm going to go with a guy that, again, we talked about being high on Jacksonville in the conversation of Evan Ingram. I'm going to go with Christian Kirk here. I know he's been a little bit banged up, but I still think the ceiling is definitively there. I mean, and the reason I'm warming up to Ingram more than I was at the beginning of the offseason, but the reason that I was lower on Ingram is because Kirk was the definitive wide receiver 1 there last year when he was healthy. He was the wide receiver 19 in points per game. So as a player, you can still easily get as your wide receiver 3 on a lot of different teams. If he outkicks that ADP and he's a consistent wide receiver 2, I mean, it's just money, man. So I'm feeling pretty good about the team. I mean, with Bijan, Mixon, and then I've got all 3 of my wide receivers sewn up. Feeling good about this squad so far.
Feeling good about the team there? All right, I got something for you here in just a second. Justin, you're on the clock here. What are we looking to do? You got you down to 15. What do we got, man?
I'm gonna go James Conner here, just because I think I can get one of the receivers I was looking at on the way back. I was trying to decide between Diggs and Dell. I think I will be able to wait, and if I don't get one of them, there's still some receivers I still like. I wanted to go ahead and make sure I locked up an RB1 that I somewhat enjoyed right there, and I was deciding between him and Stevenson. Kind of felt a little more comfortable with Conner.
What was do you have a level of concern with the 3 wide receivers in Houston? Is that, I mean, if you're taking Dell, I feel like, so let's hear it.
Yeah, that was exactly why I kind of just went ahead and went running back there.
Okay, yeah, because I feel like it's very, like, everybody, it's like black or white. Like, you are either like on the side of one of those guys, Diggs is going to eat, Nico's going to eat, or you're like, I'm kind of scared of all of them. Maybe I don't want to get invested.
That's another reason why I went Kirk too. I kind of avoided the headache there too.
Yeah, and I love the Kirk pick too, especially from a full PPR, which we're doing. So James Conner, Kyler Murray, Stephon Diggs, CJ Stroud, fantasy guru Drew. Drew, you're up, man.
Yeah, Tank Dell, baby. I'm very happy about it. To your question, for me, it's Diggs that I'm most concerned about in that offense. His ADOT over the last year was lower than it has been over the last 5 years since some of his early years. I believe that he is going to be, and I guess I should put in my second pick here. Look, the other thing that I wanted to call out here is that a 3 wide receiver, full PPR, plus a flex position, you do not want to wait on receivers. And so I'm going to grab another one right here. I'm going to grab George Pickens. I still believe that Russ can throw the ball, and Pickens is one of the best talents out there, especially in this range. Give me Pickens all day.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too with like the rumors, the incorrect rumors of Ayuk going to Pittsburgh. Let's say, Debro, that Brandon Ayuk would be a ball hawk and he would be a target monster in Pittsburgh. And it's like, well, that's just going to go to George Pickens. I tend to think that there is some value in George Pickens overall. One thing I want to do just real quick because I glossed over it, horrible hosted, and go back to it. Drew, let's start with you real quick. Do you have any take on the Kyren Williams on either A, do you think everybody's being overblown about the punt return thing and he's a value, or do you think we should be concerned?
Yeah, a little of both. If that's not necessarily a good answer, but here's why. I believe that McVay wants to give him the ball as much as possible. And he kind of said it in his quote, right? He wants to put the ball in his hands a little bit more, which A, is a great thing. B, on the flip side, they are also at the same time very confident in the backup, right? You wouldn't risk him for injury if you are not confident in Corum. And so I think that Corum should be a target late in your drafts. And I think you can still draft Kyren where he has been going.
Justin, do you have any trepidation on Kyren? Is he like, maybe you weren't interested in him in the first place, but was that something that you were like, oh yeah, now I'm really not? Or are you going to take some of the value? He fell to the back end of the third round in this one.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote him to my championships, a few of my championships last year. So I was able to get him last year in my leagues. And I wouldn't say I'm necessarily scared off of him. There's some guys I would rather take in that second round than him right now. Where he went in this draft is kind of where I would be taking him. I don't know where Derrick Henry went in this draft, but that's kind of the range where I kind of have him in my ranking.
Right before me in the second round.
Yeah.
I remember.
211.
Yep. So it's not that I'm scared off of him, but everything that Drew was saying, like Blake Corum's good. They drafted him. They drafted him knowing that he's good and they want to use him. The stuff where he's like returning kicks and stuff, I mean, it's like, read into it if you want. Like, I mean, yeah, it opens up doors to get injured a little bit more, but also, I mean, if he runs one back, it's 6 points for you, so that's cool. But yeah,
Yeah, okay, so you're on that. I'm going to be up here in just a second. You took Keenan Allen, so I want to get your guys' back-to-back picks. We got a tight end from Debro, and Justin, you picked up Keenan Allen. No concern. I think that's actually another place. It's interesting. We went from Kyren to polarizing to another polarizing player in Keenan Allen, where everyone's like, oh, he's 475 pounds and he can't catch anymore, and everyone's making a big deal about it. But if you watch Hard Knocks, he looks phenomenal, and he's still, he is going to be a target monster. Were you just comfortable, especially full PPR? I feel like this is the home for Keenan Allen. Justin.
Exactly. I mean, that was the whole reason I picked him right there. Full PPR, the guy just hogs targets. It doesn't matter. Like those 10-yard in routes, out routes, slants, like he just catches the ball every time. And PPR, it's what you need.
All right, Debro, you went with the tight end because you didn't get a tight end that last round because Justin got Trey McBride. Who'd you go with?
I went with Kyle Pitts here, and again, we kind of talked about the point of getting an elite tight end. I mean, with Evan Ingram, Kyle Pitts, and George Kittle, it's just kind of pick your flavor of that back end of the elite guys. I do have Kyle Pitts one spot above George Kittle. I would have flipped that if Ayuk did leave, because then I think it would have been more volume for Kittle. So just from a talent perspective, but really the volume, I could see Pitts get easily out targeting George Kittle this year. We can kind of split hairs about like how effective Kyle Pitts can be this year, but I'm still in on him, man. I think that he wasn't fully healthy last year. I don't think we really learned how banged up he was and coming back from the injury until the season was over. Now we know that. I think this is career season for Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, and I think it's also fair to like put more questions back into George Kittle too, with Ayuk officially re-signing. That it's like I don't think there's any slam dunk. D-Bro, call me a homer with the 49ers, but like I'm pretty realistic about it too. Like I would take Kyle Pitts over him. I think he has the potential to be. Technically, it would be like the number 3 piece in the offense, but as far as the passing game goes, he's going to see a lot of targets. So I really like that one. And Deeper, I want to get your take on this. I completely agree with what we were talking about earlier, the scarcity of wide receiver, the fear in PPR. I'm on the wheel. Sometimes I have to take some shots and not worry about, paying attention to ADP. I decided to pick up 2 more wide receivers. I went with Jaden Reed and Xavier Worthy. I went with big upside in Worthy, who gets to be my wide receiver 4, and Jaden Reed, who, I think is Green Bay's Deebo Samuel. So maybe I'm losing a little bit of consistency here, but Deebo, just real quick, what do you think about that back-to-back hit I just had?
I like it, man. I mean, look, Worthy is looking really stout in preseason. I think he's going to be a baller from the word go. Reed, my concerns about him. It just comes down to playing time. We know he has the talent and stuff. It just really comes down to, are they going to play him more this year? Like, is he going to get a 70-80% snap range on a weekly basis? So that's really my only concern with him, not so much the talent.
Yeah. Well, sadly I asked you while you're up, so you're up
okay
here. So we're gonna get your pick, and then we're gonna get Justin. I'll just fill in a couple of the picks we had since we had after Pitts went Stevenson, Ridley, Aaron Jones, Zamir White, Christian Watson. 6-7 turn. That's where I took Jaden Reed and Xavier Worthy. We had Dave Montgomery, Evan Ingram, Jackson Smith and Jigba, DeAndre Swift, Joe Burrow right in front of Derek Brown. Who, Justin? Were you ever a hitter early in your baseball years?
Yeah, I was. I would say I was a decent hitter. I was going to go to college to do both.
Okay, I didn't even know that. Were you in? You were pitching when the NL was still obviously hitters were pitchers were hitting us.
Two career big league hits.
Well, another strikeout. You just got a strikeout. I know you did, because Jaden Daniels. Horrible lead up I just had there, but the whole point is I know that Justin loves himself some Jaden Daniels.
I just milked the clock on purpose, and I wanted to take him right in front of Steele.
And D-Bro was very rude about it. So, Justin, do you want to say anything horrible that we can air on YouTube here for D-Bro?
No, we just pivot. I pivoted to a doomsday, and I'm praying to God Caleb Williams falls to me so I can have that beautiful stack.
I like it. D-Bro, what was up with the Jaden Daniels pick?
I mean, for real, I've got Jordan Love and Jaden Daniels back-to-back in my ranks. So really, I could have gone with either guy. I just wanted to kind of dig the knife into Steele, just considering he's already sniped me twice.
Yeah.
That's another one of those high shares, right, Justin? What's the share percentage on Jaden?
He's my highest share percentage on best ball. I think it's 20%, maybe 19, somewhere around there.
I like that. All right, and then you took Rome Odunze. I love that. I actually thought I was considering Odunze I was going to skip Jaden Reed, and I was going to go Odunze and Worthy. I was a little tempted. If it was best ball, I might have. What are your thoughts on Odunze?
I feel like where they drafted him, the stock they put in him speaks for itself. You watch his college tape, his college season last year, he was unbelievable. Washington made an incredible run, and he was a huge part of it. I believe they plan on using him right away. He's one of them rookies that'll make an impact right away. And I'm hoping to get Caleb Williams here because I think there's going to be a lot of passing touchdowns there.
Well, Drew had a chance to do something really funny and mean, but he decided not to, which is nice. And I agree with that, by the way. Watching, you could have done that. Watching Hard Knocks, Odunze looks phenomenal. It's so funny how that show, like getting that see behind the scenes, sometimes you just get these guys and like that evaluation too of just seeing how clean they look really shines. After Odunze, it went Najee, Raheem Mostert, Javonte Williams, and then Drew, you did a quarterback running back hit. So talk to us about Dak and Tony Pollard.
Yeah, I had to scramble a little bit there. I wanted a running back, and my 2 that I had in mind were Najee and Javonte. Both of them went right before me and 3 before me, so I scrambled a little bit. Didn't have a quarterback yet. I do think I got a little bit of value there with Dak. His ADP is about 10, 15 spots before. So, I'll take Dak there, and then I'll take the former Cowboy with Tony Pollard, who I still believe in his talent. Injured all of last year. D-Bro has talked about this before. It was underreported. And now we can see him in a new, refreshed offense, healthy, and he's still the guy. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I like the Tony Pollard pick actually a lot. And then I just got sniped a little bit here. We had Jake Ferguson, Brian Thomas, I was just really hoping would be another one of those guys that might fall back. Tajay Spears and Justin is deep in the think tank right now. What are we doing with this pick? Oh, Brian, and that's a snipe to all of us too. All right, D-Bro, another one, and that hit me too.
Thought you were going Caleb Williams, Steele. You just talked about waiting on him.
Yeah, what happened?
He set you up.
I'm going after getting a little bit of depth. I need a little bit of running back depth, you know?
Mm-hmm, sure. Yeah, sure.
Justin did the we're looking for the fastball and just dropped the slider. What the hell was that?
I hear you. I hear you in a C, sir.
What are we doing, bro?
Well, that was the top of my queue. Now I'm kind of bouncing between two different guys here. I'm going to take the volume, man. Lock up the volume here. I mean, I'm in between going with either Devin Singletary or Jerome Ford. I'm going to take Singletary because I know what his role is, man. He's going to get all the touches he can handle as long as he's healthy. It's just a bet on volume. And, I mean, right now, I have him as a top 24 running back, so to get him as my flex, pretty happy about that.
I am not pretty happy about that because that was exactly where I wanted to go. We had Singletary, Jalen Warren, DeAndre Hopkins, Cortland Sutton. Drew, how are you feeling about your team right now? Well, read me off the team real quick. What are the vibes?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. You know, I talked about it earlier. The 12 hole is not something that I've been happy about. To your point, runs happen and you kind of feel like you're not in a good spot. Everything has fallen how I wanted. I started with Gibbs and Harrison. I ended up with Devonta Smith and Travis Kelce. To my point earlier, I'm happy to get a top 5 tight end because I think there becomes a steep drop-off after that. And then I followed it up with Tank Dell, George Pickens, Dak Prescott, and Tony Pollard. I'm sitting comfy right now.
Justin, what are our halfway through a little over halfway through vibes on the team? What do we got?
Really like it so far, especially the fact that I have McBride. Very happy about that. Got a little best ball-y stacking Allen and Odunze, but it's not something I hate, especially, with Allen, like I was saying, he just gets so many targets, and I believe Odunze is going to shine as well.
D-Bro, are we happy? How are we doing, man?
Some of these picks I'd be a little bit happier, but I knew what kind of savagery I was going to walk into in this freaking draft. I knew it was going to happen, but I mean, overall, I'm happy with the team right now with Jaden Daniels, Bijan, Joe Mixon, Olave, DK Metcalf, Kirk, Pitts, and Singletary. I mean, a lot of things that I want to check off with drafts, get a rushing quarterback, done, going hero RB, and then backing it up with volume and getting an elite tight end. I mean, again, I'm pretty happy about this team. Although, I would be a lot happier if I had McBride and Puka, but again, maybe that's just for another day.
It's going to be very interesting to see what the Fantasy Pros ratings come out and the scorecards at the end of this. We got more mock draft coming up here. But first, have you ever felt like you could call the plays better than the coaches on the field? I know D-Bro has. Well, you and D-Bro can now prove it with Locker, the new innovative fantasy app where you can predict the plays as they happen in real time. I'm talking about making real-time decisions during the games, like predicting which player will rack up the most yards on the next drive. And guess what? We've got our very own Fantasy Pros Locker League, where you can join in the action, compete against the Fantasy Pros team, and take on some serious cash. There are unlimited and uncapped prize pools, so the sky's the limit. Just make the calls and watch the points roll in. Plus, with rolling entry options, you can jump in at any time. Sign up today with the link in the description and use promo code FANTASY. Then join the Fantasy Pros Locker League to show us your play calling skills, whether you're a Fantasy Pro or a rookie. This is your chance to win big because Locker isn't just fantasy, it's live gameplay at its finest. Check out Locker today. All right, let's get back to this bad boy. I'm going to resume because I am on the clock and everybody sniped these running backs from me. If you've paid attention to my team, which I don't really know why you would, I started Christian McCaffrey, but I have Lamar Jackson, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Ayuk, Jaden Reed, Mark Andrews, and Xavier Worthy. I'm pretty damn happy with the team, but the running backs are going to get away with me. And I think that's, D-Bro, that's probably funny because I know like you and Joe, I'm a little bit more of a running back guy, and I have played pretty heavy pivot so far this year. And this is one of those pivot situations where I really wanted to go heavy wide receiver. So I need to get into the running back streets a little bit here. So we are going to tag Austin Eckler, full PPR, I like getting Eckler. It's not the best RB2 situation, but it's a pretty good situation to get those receptions. And if you guys watch the sleeper episode with Michael Florio, that is one of Michael Florio's top sleepers. I want to jump back into the running back market, but I got to be honest, guys. There's a wide receiver that I just love, and I'm not going to let him slip. And it's going to Keon Coleman. So Keon Coleman, I think, can be the number one on this team. There's no harm in stacking up wide receivers, especially in this format. I wanted Brian Thomas earlier, but again, I do think Keon Coleman can be a number one. And he is my prime number one bench wide receiver in any format that I can have. It gives me tons of flexibility. And we're kind of in the same tier of running backs that we're heading into. Justin, what are we looking at doing as we are finishing out? We're kind of rounding out the rest of our roster on the bench. What are you looking to do here with this pick?
So I still like the grouping of quarterbacks I'm looking at. So I feel like I can wait another round and still get somebody I like. So at this point, I think I'm just going to get a little bit more wide receiver depth since I've already got 3 running backs.
Okay, I like that. So what do you guys think? Something I was thinking about. And I'm going to tell the audience this right now. You guys in the chat, everybody that's watching, I want you guys to comment below with your favorite team. You can play favorites if you want. Not like maybe I'll be the one that takes a look. And we're going to pick one person, and we're going to give them a little Fantasy Pros credit. What do you think about that, Debra? We're getting a little Fantasy Pros credit to the store. Yeah, in the comments, your favorite team, Fantasy Guru Drew, Justin Steele, Debra, or the Welsh, put it up there, your favorite team in the bottom, and maybe your favorite pick. We'll pick one person. We'll give a little bit extra away because we were talking off air about how we could, maybe make this a little thing. And I think we're going to be doing some tracking, and it'll start with the Fantasy Pros expert rating at the end of this, and we'll maybe follow and carry these teams in here. So we had Jonathan Brooks, Marquise Brown, Ladd McConkey, DVR. Is it DVR or DVR? DVR. Okay. DVR is in there. Not Derek Van Riper, but DVR. And then Debra, you're coming up here. What are we looking at?
Man, I was really hoping Jonathan Brooks made it to me. I figured.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Yeah, I figured we were probably both looking at him still, considering our constructions. And after he goes, I feel like it's just a long tier of running backs where I'm just like, it's okay. It's not, amazing. But I think at this point, I'm probably going to take another swipe and get some wide receiver depth, considering I only have 3 right now. I'm going to go with the guy that I think leads the Los Angeles Chargers in receiving. It's not Ladd McConkey. He's already gone. Let's go Joshua Palmer.
Ooh, Josh Palmer. Love that pick. One of the top sleepers on the consensus sleeper rankings we got here. Justin, you're up, man. What are we looking at?
Yeah. Is this 6-point passing touchdown, I'm assuming?
This is, I think it's standard 4.
I think it'd be 4.
This is 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That definitely makes me adjust my pick. I was going to go Jordan Love, but since it's...
And what about Caleb? Huh?
Yeah, I'm going to wait now. So I'm going to go upside here. I'm going to take Jameson Williams, my Alabama guy.
Damn it.
Love that pick.
Have some big upside on the bench. He ends up taking off. I could just slide him right into that flex.
I'm so glad somebody else feels the pain of what Steele's doing this entire draft, and it's not just me the entire stinking time.
My apologies, everyone.
Yeah. Sorry, Drew. Yeah, right there. Drew, were you not happy about that? Is that what I got?
Not so much. That's where I was going. I think the upside in that offense is incredible. And if you can get the deep shot in that offense, and look, this is a very, very hot take. I think Amon-Ra is unquestionably the number 1 receiver in that offense. I would not be too surprised if J-Mo is slightly behind him in total points. I'm not saying he's going to beat him, but I think we could see a 1A, 1B situation come through by the end of the season.
You know how bad I wanted to make a sound in there, but you know why I didn't? Because that'll be a clippable thing we'll put out on the internet. I wanted to get you to say that full thing because it's not just a hot take, but there's a reality. There's a path of just how explosive Jameson Williams can be and how this offense is passing. It's tough when you look at like Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Gibbs, and you say where's the target share? But this is a big explosive guy. Drew, you're up here. I'll let you make your picks. I want to get Debra. I'm going to start with you. Just make it really quick. We had this question in the Discord that came up today, and someone was asking, what's the range? What do you think the general spot is in a draft where you stop where the adjustment between best available and like, oh, I need to pay attention and do this into my roster construction. Where do you think that is? I said around like round 6 is where I start to pay attention to like, oh, here's a run that's happening, or here is what I need positionally. So run or positional need, where do you think that starts?
It kind of depends on your league. Like, are you starting 2 wide receivers versus 3? What the board looks like.
Let's say like this one. Let's say 3 wide receiver like this one.
I mean, it could. Really, it's probably round 5, round 6, where you're looking at, okay, am I going to go with a tight end? Do I need another running back? Do I need another wide receiver? How am I going to shape the rest of this team? I think it's somewhere in that round 5, round 6 kind of range, because that's where you're going to make the decisions. And even I mean, to be honest, and I feel like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth here, but it's round 4 to 6, basically, because that's the pivot point of you're going to say, I'm going to go elite tight end versus getting my second or third wide receiver or quarterback. So really, I feel like that's kind of the meat and potatoes rounds of where you're building pretty much the backbone of how the rest of your team's going to go.
Yeah, I just shook my head because I just got K'd by Steele. Steele, same question, just really quick after you pick. Do you think like where's a round where your focus is like, oh, here's a run or here's a positional thing? When does BPA stop for you?
I pay attention to runs a little bit when I'm drafting, especially if it's like an active draft. It's not just a mock. Like in one of my home leagues, there was a huge quarterback run, and I was thinking like maybe I should start going ahead and like thinking about taking a quarterback, but I ended up just, grabbing some more depth and still ended up getting Jaden Daniels in a round I wanted to get him in. So it's one of them things, like if you're thin somewhere, say receiver or running backs, and 5 or 6 in a row just went off the board, yeah, in that case, it does make a ton of sense to go ahead and, maybe go 2 in a row just so you have some depth there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think we found the good range. Picking up on the picks, by the way, after the 9-8 of Jameson Williams, we had Brock Bowers, Jordan Addison, Dobbs. Drew, you took Charbonnet and Jacoby Myers. We had Khalil Shakir, Zach Moss, Brandon Cooks, Gus Edwards by Justin Steele, oh my God, I just got sniped. Jaleel McLaughlin to Derek Brown, Benson and Njoku, Lockett, Corum, and I just got sniped on Rico Dowdle. But Drew, real quick, why don't you give us a little take on Charbonnet and Jacoby Myers while I cry?
Yeah, I will admit to my first mistake, and I know we're picking who our favorite team is. I think it's a no-brainer that you still go with mine, but I will admit my first mistake here because Justin kind of threw me off with the Jameson Williams pick. I wanted to give you props on your prior round pick of Keon Coleman. I think if you can get an offense with Josh Allen, who threw for 4,300 yards last year, and his first receiver off the board is in round 9, that is wild. And what I should have done is gone with Khalil Shakir, because I think that he has just as much of a chance as being the 1A in that offense. And again, 4,300 yards, not taking one of those receivers until round 9, that is wild.
Yeah, and thank you for the compliment. By the way, you guys are both, not Drew, but you guys are both very rude, Steele and Debro, with the running back stuff. Gus Edwards, I was like, okay, this is awful. And then McLaughlin really killed me. I wanted to go the Dowdle McLaughlin stack there, Debro. So you got me back. We actually did a mock earlier this year, and I got you
totally nice.
So you got me back on that one. Anything you want to break down on McLaughlin real quick?
I mean, I just keep drafting him, man. It just comes down to
how much time you got.
I don't know why. Yeah, exactly. I don't know why consensus hasn't come up higher on him. He's still sitting in that RB4 range, and I still think it's just as ludicrous as when I was in on him since January or February. I think it's just as ludicrous then as it is now. It's the passing down back in a Sean Payton offense. Why is he not going 2-3 rounds ahead of where he's at?
I double tapped because, like I said, you guys, all my running backs went. I ended up going with Chuba, which I actually think Chuba is a really great value. I didn't even realize he was there because he's going to be the guy early on. I'm also trying to buy my time a little bit. And then I went with J.K. Dobbins, and I wanted to do this because I'm kind of a J.K. guy over Gus Edwards kind of in general, but I like the touchdown equity of Gus Edwards. And Justin, you went with Gus Edwards. How close do you think that Dobbins and Edwards really are?
So I'm terrified of drafting Dobbins. I haven't drafted him one time, just the 2 injuries back-to-back years. If I get burned by it, so be it. It's one of them things I'll just be comfortable living with. I trust the equity in Gus Edwards getting those goal line touches and falling into the end zone. So that's kind of why I took him there. I feel like that's a really good bench piece for me.
Yeah, I like it. A.D. Mitchell, Samuel, Goddard, Elliott, Josh Downs. That one kills me. He's every team of mine this year. Rashid Shaheed to Mr. Derek Brown. Let's get the Shaheed pick real quick, and then let's go to the travesty of what we allowed to happen to Justin in this last pick after these 3 rounds of touting it. But D-Bro, talk about
has been talking the board the whole time, and he gets the quarterback he wants here. Shocker. But no, man, I like Shaheed here. On my build, he's my wide receiver 5. So really, it's just spike weeks. I mean, he's a guy that you don't want to count on as your weekly wide receiver 3, but as a flex guy, it's very similar like all the years of kind of Gabe Davis. Can he win you a week? We've already seen that last year, but the upside with Shaheed is he might be Gabe Davis, but he actually has better target earning potential. Like maybe Shaheed gets a 20% target share with as consolidated as the Saints passing attack is. And apparently I should be drafting all the Derek Carr, considering I did take Olave and Shaheed on the same team.
Apparently. Justin, you still got Caleb. You still got Caleb in this entire thing. You were like, I really hope I get him 3 rounds later. You still got your guy. We got to be pretty pumped.
Yeah, I took a look at the draft board and I was like, everyone already has a QB. And I think there was one team that didn't. And I was like, he's not going to take Caleb over these guys that are still there. So I kept pushing it back, and it just kept falling. So I felt like that was the right time to do it.
It's a sharp room, man.
I think it's also
the fact that Caleb and Jordan Love are still out there is insane right now.
Oh, the Jordan Love one, that actually shouldn't be going on. That's crazy. But we also have to get a hat tip to like Chicago boys, Justin getting Caleb, like Steele X Caleb is like a very appropriate thing. So shout out to Caleb Williams here. The last couple picks, we had Mike Williams, Dontavian Wicks. That's a great pick. Michael Wilson, Drew Algier, and Marshawn Lloyd. Yeah, there's a snipe to D-Bro. Get out of here, D-Bro. Let's hear about the running backs.
Yeah, so my strategy in a lot of these drafts are grab your receivers and grab them early. Late rounds, go with the high upside running backs, and Lloyd is one of the best ones available at this spot.
And I think, D-Bro, you're going to speak to that because you absolutely love Marshawn Lloyd. Like this is the second half play. This is the guy that you 4th, 5th running back. You sit, you don't worry about week 6. All of a sudden, you start reaping the benefits.
And I think it's honestly crazy as much as we've seen his ADP drop. His ADP is dropping in redraft. It's dropping. I mean, he's to the stone min right now in best ball. Like, it's kind of crazy. You'd swear that nobody's adjusting for the fact that he did not go on the IR and the fact that he is probably going to be back sooner than we think, even with the Green Bay Packers being conservative. His ADP right now, you'd swear that the Green Bay Packers came out and announced he's going to miss like 6-8 games. So honestly, I mean, it's just free money. People need to keep drafting more of him.
Picking up, we had Irving, Mooney, Wright, Judy to Justin Steele and Derek Brown. You were up. Jerry Judy was on my short list, Steele. So you're filling up that wide receiver core. Any takes or thoughts you want to throw on Judy?
Roll Tide, baby. It's an Alabama guy. It's a guy. Dude, I was huge on him coming out of the draft. I'm still on him. I've been on him every single year. The talent is there. It's always been there. The dude gets open, and I think he's going to get fed there. He's got Amari Cooper there, another Alabama guy. So I think the wide receiver room there takes an uptick this year.
Fun fact too, I was infuriated that draft because I wanted the 49ers to take Jerry Judy more than anything. And they traded back, took Javon Kinlaw, and that pick that they got back ended up being Brandon Ayuk. So I wanted Judy, and I'm reminded by my friends that I wanted Jerry Judy bad, but Brandon Ayuk ended up being the dude. Demarcus Robinson, to you, D-Bro. Let's hear it.
I mean, he was the wide receiver 31 after he got a starting role in this offense. He's one of the best picks you can make at the end of drafts, especially considering if you pair him with like one of these rookie upside guys that maybe doesn't hit the beginning of the year and you need to lean on D-Rob a little bit to begin the year. I mean, Matthew Stafford's a kingmaker, man. Like, we know he's going to throw a ton of touchdowns. His receivers are extremely productive, and he's going to be on the field all the time. The Rams are still going to be top 3 in 11 personnel. So I continue to draft Demarcus Robinson the entire offseason. Not a statement I thought I would make walking into the 2024 season.
Kendra Miller goes right after. What are your takes on that?
Man, poor Kendra. Why can't he stay healthy, man? Like, I hate it for him. Like, it's
EA bears him.
I mean, yeah.
You ever seen
Dennis
a guy
Allen
seem
cannot
more
stand
hated
him?
by
Like,
his team. I mean, it's wild.
It's crazy.
It's one of my
that
favorite
rolls out of
offseason
Dennis
bits.
Allen's mouth. Dude, like, Dennis Allen's just like, unless they ask him about Taysom Hill, Dennis Allen's basically like, nah, I don't like him. Don't like him. Don't like him. They bring up Taysom, and Dennis Allen like gets the biggest grin ever, and then they bring up Kendra, and he's like walks away from the podium.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, go ahead.
It's like, DA, what do you think about the defense? Kendra Miller's got to stay healthy.
I want to see,
true.
You know those cartoons they do that's like the School of Gridiron or whatever the hell they're called? Like the stick figure guys. I want to see one of just like inside the Saints camp, and it's just Kendra Miller and Taysom Hill, just good son, bad son. That's all I want to see all day long. Kendra Miller, Pat Freiermuth, Antonio Gibson, Dalton Schultz, and Pop Douglas. I am absolutely thrilled about what I'm about to do because smartest pick of the draft, Jordan Mason, have to get top back up to Christian McCaffrey. I have McCaffrey, so if I don't do it, I'm a big stupid idiot. And then I'm going to take a potential number one wide receiver on a horrible team, but I'm going to go with Jalen Polk with the Patriots because I want rookie upside on my bench as wide receiver. I'm not saying Adam Thielen's not good. He could get receptions and still, but I'm not playing for Rashad Bateman or Gabe Davis or Adam Thielen. I'm playing for potential number one on Jalen Polk. So I'm actually very ecstatic about that wheel. Justin, are you agreeing with the Polk Mason flip there?
I totally agree with both, but especially the Polk decision, especially in this wide receiver grouping that we're looking at here. I totally agree with you on the number one wide receiver upside and what that can bring.
So we're like these are our last picks. You guys, I think, will each have two. I have got one. Should we be letting the Jordan Love thing go on here? Like, I know in this type of a format, you're not looking to have second quarterbacks. Like, what, Drew? Let's start with you. What is your thought on like a second quarterback to that degree in drafts like this? Like, I know it's kind of blasphemous to have like two quarterbacks and single quarterback. Well, he just went, but still. No, you did.
Yeah. Debro just takes him, and look, I think that's a great pick. It's also something that I've seen in a lot of home leagues, and I think you probably see it a lot this weekend as more and more people draft. Waiting on a quarterback is a viable strategy. There is nothing wrong with it, especially if you are in a league where there's a lot of trading. Load up on those running backs, load up on those receivers, because you can then wait on your quarterback, and as a couple injuries pile up, as a couple of your receivers hit it big and a couple teams need some receiver and running back help, you can pull off a pretty good steal at that point in the draft or in the trade in the league.
And there's no pun intended either.
Yeah.
There's also a sneakiness that's going on here because if you're looking for the values, Justin, you did the same thing. You ended up playing again. It's like this is weird, like what production I need now to the upside of what I can have later. And you took TJ Hawkinson, and it's a pretty easy path where TJ Hawkinson could be a top 5 wide receiver when he returns. So you got a pretty good value. I like the sneakiness of that.
Exactly. And I love pairing a tight end like that with what I think will be the tight end one, McBride, because I can play both of them if they're both performing well. Hawkinson takes over that bye week for him. And what he was just saying, trade bait. If TJ Hawkinson comes back and blows up his first few weeks, somebody's going to want to tight end. Same thing can be said, like kind of vice versa to what he's saying. If you're in a league where it's 6-point passing touchdowns and you have, for instance, in one of my leagues, I have Jaden Daniels and then I have Brock Purdy on my bench, and someone's thin at quarterback, someone goes down, all of a sudden they need a quarterback, and it's dire. You're able to get some really good depth off of that.
I love that. Debro, you were the one that pulled the trigger. You said no more Jordan Love hate, and I was going to probably do the same. Had I not had Polk and Mason there, Love was going to be the other one. I was just going to do it. Didn't matter if I had Lamar Jackson or not. It was too good of a value. Is that kind of your take?
It's just too late, man. It's too late. And as much as I love Jaden Daniels, and I would have been fine going with just Jaden Daniels and avoiding it, but I mean, Jordan Love at this point of the draft, it's free equity. Whether you keep him, whether you play matchups, whether you trade him. I mean, I know this is a mock and stuff, but still, you're going to attack this like you would your normal home league and stuff. And from that perspective, they both crush in the first 3 weeks of the season, somebody gets injured and stuff, I mean, like what Steele just said, then you're trading it, man. Like it's easy.
And
I
look,
think people appreciate it too because, oh yeah, no, go. I'm sorry, go ahead, Drew.
No, please. Look, in hindsight, if I would have known that Jordan Love was going to go this late, and look, I shouldn't have expected this late, but even a couple rounds before that, I would have waited on Dak Prescott. I would have grabbed someone like Brian Thomas, filled out my receiver room a little bit more, and waited on quarterback because, to my point earlier, you can do that in home leagues, and this is a good spot to do it.
I think we all would have done that. Also, I just wanted to comment what a really interesting point I think you made too was like, Debro, you had posted the tweet. You're like, hey, we're doing this awesome mock. And one of the first comments is like, oh, you're going to do like a draft that you don't care about? Like, okay, wait, I get the points of that. But like, I also want you guys to like understand the competitiveness of this. Justin has been like camera up. Like Justin is in to this. Debro is always in. We pissed Drew off. Like, we're into this, and we're also going to put a little stake to it. So I think people need to check themselves on the mock drafts. Like, oh, it doesn't mean anything. No, it means something. Because guess what? As soon as this is done, we're going to see the ratings up there, and we're going to pretend it doesn't matter. But when Debro is below all three of us, he's not going to be happy about it.
And in a couple months, you best believe that I will go back and tally up these points and prove to you guys that I have the best team.
I know.
And I will tell you this. If I'm the number one and I win this out, I know where Justin's going to be in February and March in my city, and I'll find him and I'll let him know. Well, she did it. All right, I got the final pick here.
Can't wait for you to bring me my belt.
Yeah, exactly. I'll break into Cubs camp. Justin's gonna have to tell security like, hey, I got a guy that's coming here, and I'll be walking past Shota and Dansby, and I just got a belt for Justin.
It's like that scene out of Rookie of the Year when he knocks on the door and he's like, oh, that's a horse of a different color. Come on in.
One thing I want to do real quick. I'm gonna make my last pick. Justin, can you really quickly comment on like just the love? You were mentioning your teammates use it. You just did the Cubs draft. Is there anything you just wanted to share with that? You got one of your Cubs teammates in the room. People are probably wondering who is hanging with you. Yeah. I'm just curious about the love.
Yeah. So Tyson was just doing one of his home league drafts, and I was kind of giving him some advice on picks and stuff. I really, really like the team he just drafted, but I mean, yeah, I recommend the Draft Wizard to everybody all the time. Like if, I get asked fancy questions all the time because my friends back home, family members, teammates, everybody knows I care a lot about this. And that's the first thing I say. I was like, download Draft Wizard, read what it says, read what the experts on there are saying. It's, you guys doing that. I got an 86 out of 100. I don't know what it hates about my team, but I love it.
Wait till we get to this. Did you guys do any for the Cubs League? Did you see all those videos that they're out there? People are like doing a chipping contest. Did you do anything unique for the draft order?
Yeah, we threw darts at a balloon board. If you missed, it's an extra $100 into the pot. So you do that. A number falls out, and that's the order you shoot a beer pong shot. Whatever cup you make, that's your draft pick. If you miss a beer pong shot, it's another $100.
Amazing.
Where's the video of this? All we're seeing is these dudes doing 130-yard chips. I want that video on social media.
It was nerve-wracking, especially if you're trying to like aim for a cup for a draft pick you want. And yeah.
Who got the first pick?
Nico.
Oh, Nico did. All right, nice. I love that. All right, so we got the draft insights here. Boy, there's some.
Yeah, Welsh, you called this. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I may have called it. I'm going to give out some of the insights. I don't know if everybody has it up, and you're welcome to say it as we blow through this. Captain Neo, by the way, congratulations. Captain Neo was the winner on the projections from the Fantasy Pros Discord, so we got to give a shout out to him, give him a prize. Trust Venom was 2. Blake was 3. We did not finish in the top 3. Ladies and gentlemen, with the highest score of this panel is the Cubs ace, Justin Steele, with the best score of any of us. We all just got schooled. Dudes out there, schooling baseball players and schooling Fantasy Pros analysts. You got the 4th best score, Justin, with that team. Why don't you rattle off your team, and then I don't know if you have the insights up. If you don't, I can give them. But let's hear what the team construction was.
Yeah. Let me see. How do I pull up my team real quick? I'm looking at the 86 out of 100 right now. Let me see if I can pull up my team.
I got it if you need it.
Draft.
If you go over to draft board
and
then sort by team.
So it started with Brees Hall, followed it up with Puka, then went Mike Evans, Trey McBride, got my second RB, James Conner, and then followed it up with Keenan Allen, Odunze, grabbed my third RB at this point, Brian Robinson, followed up with Jamison Williams, and then another running back, Gus Edwards, grabbed my quarterback, Caleb Williams, to stack with Odunze and Keenan Allen, and then grabbed Jerry Jeudy, TJ Hawkinson, tight end depth, and then Brock Purdy as my last pick.
Very nice.
Pretty good. This is a very funny thing. So going through this, by the way, it did say, what if you had drafted Stephon Diggs at 5'8" and a running back later, you would have scored higher. So it was just telling you on the running back side of it. You have a bye week issue. Mike Evans, Trey McBride, and James Conner on there. 2 steals of the draft, both of your quarterbacks. You got Caleb 3 rounds later. How funny is that, by the way? Because you said it 3 rounds before, and then you got the value on it. And Brock Purdy, you took Brock Purdy, right? You got him 6 rounds later than he was ranked. And Debra, I don't know if you see this. The person that loved Steele's draft the most, my boy Scott Bogman.
Love it.
My childhood best friend who's here, Scott Bogman, gave the highest ranking. Other experts that loved, we had Scott Bogman, Bill Enright, the Gridiron Site rankings, Dalton Del Don from Yahoo, and Marco Enriquez from Fantasy Pros here. Unfortunately, we didn't have any of us on the hate side, but there was one F. Stephen Thomason obviously must be a Cardinals fan or something. He didn't like that draft. But Justin, you were at the tippy top. You won it. Coming in at number 2, Fantasy Guru Drew. You finished both higher than me and Debro, though I will say I finished right after Drew. You and I were 6 points apart. Let's hear the team and let's hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm really happy through the first 6 rounds. I got Gibbs, Marvin Harrison, Devonta Smith, Travis Kelce, Tank Dell, George Pickens. I mean, that is one of the best starts to a draft that I've maybe done this whole summer. And then starting round 7 is where I think I messed up a little bit. We've talked about the steals of the draft of quarterback. I went Dak Prescott because, to your point at the onset, I was worried that we were going to see a QB run and I wasn't going to get anyone startable. So I went Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard, Zach Charbonnet, Jacoby Myers, because I couldn't get Jamison Williams and I was too flustered to draft Khalil Shakir. And then I just went upside. Tyler Algier, Marshawn Lloyd, Rashad Bateman, Quentin Johnson. I think both of those at the end there is pretty good upside for receiver. And my running back late upside, I'm pretty happy with too.
On the insights, Ryan Weiss from Club Fantasy loved you the most. He gave you a 94. That's an A. Adam Stark, Scott Smith, Adam Dove, and Kyle Krajewski both had John here. Hate came from Nick Bodeford. Not a fan. Nick. An F. Scott Pianowski was on there as a D. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where the hate comes from. Raju Byfield. Raju usually hates most of my drafts in there, but you had an 83 out of 100, and I finished right below you. So let me pull up mine real quick here, and I'll give you some of my insights. My team ended up being Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler at RB2. I had Cooper Kupp, Brandon Ayuk, Jaden Reed, Mark Andrews. My flex was Xavier Worthy. My bench, Keon Coleman, Chuba Hubbard, J.K. Dobbins, Jalen Polk, Kamani Vidal, and Jordan Mason. That is the best bench you could possibly want in a PPR. I don't care what anybody says. My expert rankings, Adam Scheifter. Fantasy Pros liked my draft the most. Joe Serpico, Shane Hallam, David Haleman. Oh my. Guess who hated my draft more than anybody? Everybody take a breath. Justin, would you like to take a guess? Just, you don't even know all these people. Who do you think hated my draft more than anybody?
Probably the guy, your coworker that's on the screen.
Oh, look at that guy that right there. The guy that thought Brandon Ayuk was going to be a Commander, a Brown, a Patriot. Yes, Derek Brown, you hated my draft. And what is so funny, you didn't even hate Brandon Ayuk. You didn't even hate that as the pick. You hated Cooper Kupp, Jaden Reed, and Austin Eckler. You gave me an F, D-bro. What's your problem?
I still love you, Welsh. I do. I just don't love your team.
What's your problem? What's your problem, man? I don't understand.
I knew you were going to bring me up. I was like, oh dear. Oh, it's coming.
Yeah. Whew. I did have a J.K. Dobbins was the number 3 consensus sleeper on the board, but it said I reached for Xavier Worthy and Keon Coleman. I don't care. D-bro. Unfortunately, our biggest loser today in the 10 spot. D-bro, give us this team that just couldn't stack up against Fantasy Guru Drew, Justin Steele, or even lowly old Welsh.
I like this team. I mean, look, and it says it in the grades. I gave myself a 98, and I'm not backing off of it. I mean,
You were the number one love. You were the number one.
I mean, look, I'm
loving
staying
your
on
team.
brand. I mean,
it's funny how that works.
It does. It's funny how that works. Yeah, I mean, I like the team, man. I got Jaden Daniels, Bijan Robinson, Joe Mixon, Devin Singletary, Jaleel McLaughlin. Then the wide receiver room: Chris Olave, DK Metcalf, Christian Kirk, Josh Palmer, Rashid Shaheed, D-Rob, Jermaine Burton at the end. They know my Burton love. And then I've got Jordan Love as well at quarterback. Kyle Pitts is my only tight end, but I'm paying up for it, so I didn't need a number 2. Yeah, I like this team. I think the thing about this team is, and the way that I approach a lot of the drafts, I don't care about hitting ground rule doubles. I want homers, man. I'm going all upside. And a lot of it comes down to I'm willing to invest in offenses that I think are going to blow up this year. And Seattle is definitely one. And so is Jacksonville and the Washington Commanders. So again, this is a lot of me just investing in offenses that I really like. And maybe that just stands opposed to consensus.
I like it, man. And I'll tell you guys this. I'd be curious what you guys think. Again, I'll tell you, we're going to give something away. We'll give a code to the gift store so someone can get some at the Fantasy Pros store for your favorite team. But here's the other thing I want to know, what you guys think in the comment section. What do you think we should do with these? How should we track these? Drew's on it. I think we should track these, but what do you think it should be? Should it be Debro and Welsh versus Drew and Justin? Should it be a 4-way and we see who scores the best? What's the punishment and what's the prize? Put it in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think, because I will absolutely love to hear that. Debro, real quick, final draft thoughts for people going in. This is the final weekend, final mock draft. Just give a really quick, any piece of advice, whether it's a player or strategy or anything.
I think we've talked about it on this show. We've talked about it all draft season, and I want to walk away with an elite tight end. That is especially true if you're playing in smaller leagues like 8-team, 10-team leagues. Then you pay up for the onesie positions because those can be the difference makers for you. But I'm not going to build many teams this year, best ball or redraft notwithstanding, without getting a top 7, top 8 tight end. Just not doing it.
Drew, same thing I'm going to throw to you. Any last advice? You guys have given a lot of great advice throughout this. If you just want to throw out one more thing, again, it could be a specific player, strategy, whatever it is. What's something you want to throw at the audience for the final draft weekend?
Look, I've had the opportunity to draft a lot of teams with Debro, which I've really liked. And I will say this is the best team that I've seen him draft. I'm still not saying it's very good, but it is the best team that I've seen him draft. Just want to thank you guys for having me on the podcast. Look, I think you've seen Steele today. Look, we've seen him on the mound, a stud out there. We now know that he is a stud in the fantasy streets as well. And I just want to call out that he is also one of the nicest people that you meet. So I'll toss it. I'll do your role there and toss it over to him.
Cosign.
Yeah, and I want to second that too, because I agree. Justin is one of the best dudes, and literally just hit me up the other day. It's the funniest thing. Justin was like, I was on the Draft Wizard, and I just thought of you, and he hit me up. And I was like, that's the weirdest and nicest thing of all time, that the Draft Wizard was the thing. Justin is a great guy and spent over an hour here, kind of busy, kind of a lot going on. And you spend a lot of your time doing a lot of this analysis as well, Justin. I mean, like I said, there's no gimmick to it. That's what I think is so fascinating about this. It's not a gimmicky thing. Hey, we got a starting pitcher in MLB. You do your work and you put it on paper. You've probably put up hundreds of drafts so far. So the same thing again, it's like, what's that last little piece of advice you want to throw anything out to anybody?
First off, thanks for having me, and thank y'all for the kind words right there. That really means a lot. Y'all are great, and I just, it means a lot coming from y'all. But for one thing, I would say to fantasy players that are going into their drafts, into their fantasy leagues, trust your stands. Like for me, like it's, I have Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin in every single one of my leagues. Mm-hmm. If that works out, I win 2 out of 3, maybe 3 out of 3 leagues. Like, trust your stands. Like, that's how you win leagues. You gotta, like, if you have something, like for me, like Trey McBride, like I'll reach for him. Like, that's something I think that can be a difference in winning a league. And like for me, I just think trusting your stands and going for it, like that's where you separate yourself and win leagues.
Yeah, I think it's conviction. I think it's a big conviction to your players. It's a great way to do it. Not fall in love with ADP and be convicted to your strategy. And don't get frazzled like when Rico Dowdle goes right before you or Derrick Henry goes right before you. Like, don't.
Or you get sniped on Puka.
Like
not that was.
Or you get sniped.
Happened in this draft or anything.
Yeah. Perfect. I love it. Friends, we had a great time with you. I hope a little bit longer episode, but I hope you guys really, really enjoyed it. Make sure to be checking out the No Huddle with Drew and Steele, that podcast coming hopefully very, very soon. We're going to be checking it out, and we're excited to hear that. You can find D-Bro, the King of Bros, really everywhere. You can find us all on Twitter as well. You can find me at IsItTheWelsh. And I want you guys to go over and check out fantasypros.com/draftwizard. You guys can play around with these mock drafts. If you got a draft coming up, I promise you, 5 minutes, you can get a draft in to get your prep in. You can do 4 or 5 if you got a half an hour. Trust me, it'll help you out. Plus, we got the draft assistant, and my playbook is here to help you in season with the waiver assistant, the trade analyzer, and a ton more. Plus, you can set all your leagues from it. So go and check it out. All those awesome tools. We're here for a reason, my friends. For Justin Steele, Fantasy Guru Drew, and D-Bro, I'm the Welsh. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we'll talk to you next time right here on Fantasy Pros.